to the Mighty Blues. My name is of course Cameron and welcome back to today's video. Now we are deep in the third international break of the season. I was thinking about what video should I make and I thought, you know what, we're nearly a third of the way through the season, why not review Marco Silva's first season as the Everton manager so far, have a little bit of a discussion about him, how I think he's settled in, the new signings, etc, and just talk about how well Marco Silva is doing as the Everton manager so far this season. Obviously we are only a few games into the season, so you know, this may change, it mightn't change, don't get me wrong, but I did think, you know, it'd be good to sit down and just have a little bit of a discussion, sort of like a talk of how he's doing so far as the Everton manager. So 12 games into the Premier League season, Marco Silva has won 5, drawn 4 and lost 3. Obviously the wins coming against Brighton, Leicester City, Fulham, Crystal Palace and Southampton, obviously in our first home game of the season. The 4 draws coming against Chelsea, Huddersfield at home, which is probably the most disappointing game of this season, along with the West Ham game. And then, of course, we drew against Wolverhampton Wanderers in the first game of the season and Bournemouth as well. And the 3 losses that we don't want to talk about too much, but we'll get them in there anyway, to Arsenal, Manchester United, and like I said, probably the most disappointing game this season, West Ham United at home. So 12 games into the season, Marco Silva has picked up 19 points for the Blues. We currently sit 9th in the league and are 5 points behind Arsenal, who are currently 5th in the league. So we're, you know, a couple of wins away from that sort of top 5 or 6 and getting there at the minute. Obviously we've had massive wins this season. I think the Leicester City win was a massive win. I think the win against Crystal Palace was just brilliant, like I say, last 2 goals in the last couple of minutes, and then obviously the massive point against Stamford Bridge just before the international break as well is massive. So we'll start off at the very start. Marco Silva was employed by Everton on the 31st of May, I believe it was, just before June, of course. We were after him for months and months prior to that. He was supposedly supposed to be the successor of Ronald Koeman, but because of issues with Watford, that never happened. We ended up getting Sam Allardyce in, and you know, we're not going to talk about what happened then, and obviously Sam Allardyce was sacked by the club at the start of this season, and Marco Silva come in to take over that role, and he has been absolutely fantastic. I'd use one word to describe Marco Silva's Everton reign so far, and that is revolutionary. He really has been a revolution. The type of football we're seeing now compared to the type of football we were seeing last season under Koeman and under Allardyce is just absolutely unbelievable. Obviously Marcel was employed by the club in early June as well, and that did have a massive impact on the club also. Former director of football Steve Walsh was sacked or released or let go, however you want to say it, along with Sam Allardyce, of course, and Marco Silva was brought in to act as that director of football role, to, you know, be the middleman between the shareholders and Marco Silva in terms of making signings and having that brilliant relationship with Marco Silva and the players as well. And I do think he's got it. I think he's been absolutely fantastic this season. We'll go on to talk about Marcel Brands in a little bit more detail in a little bit, but on to Marco Silva to start with. Like I said, the first game of the season, Wolverhampton Wanderers away from home. I think it was a 5:30 kickoff on a Saturday. Listen, it was always going to be a tough game. Marco Silva's first game in charge of Everton in the Premier League against the team that were being bigged up at the time to, you know, do massive things this season and be in the top sort of 5 or 6 and go on to, you know, get a European place, and he played this fantastic football and had steamed the Championship. I seen, you know, people saying that Manchester City are the Championship, so it was always going to be a tough ask for Marco Silva. Obviously it was Richarlison's first game off, first summer signing. Richarlison come in. There was a little bit of controversy around it, about the price tag, which wasn't 50 million, it was 35 million, but let's be honest, it sounds better as 50 million in the song, so, but whatever. A little bit of controversy around the price tag. Obviously he hadn't had the greatest of seasons last season for Watford. He started off really well, but then November time he sort of faded off, and I don't think he was involved in a goal or assist for quite some time for them. So there was a lot of expectation on Marco Silva for this game. I think there was a lot of expectation on Richarlison, see how he can play, see if he was worth the risk, and he turned out to be worth the risk. He was absolutely fantastic against Wolves. Marco Silva set out brilliantly. Obviously the game ended 2-2. We ended up with 10 men. An absolutely stupid red card by Phil Jagielka, which wasn't a red card and I couldn't see mile, but you know, the referee gave it and the game ended up as a stalemate draw. Throughout the game, obviously Everton had a lot of chances. The two noticeable ones, obviously Richarlison's 2 goals. I think it was the second goal, absolutely fantastic finish. He curves it round the corner and it's wonderful. It's the type of goal that you look at and you go, you are a class player. You know, you can just tell by the technique, the power, just how accurate the shot was. You were looking and you were thinking, we have definitely got a player on our hands here, and what a player we did have indeed. Marco Silva obviously adapted his tactics halfway through that game because of the red card, and we ended up coming away with a really hard fought draw. You know, it was always going to be hard to go to a newly promoted team, a team that had been bigged up so much by the media. Obviously, it was on television as well, so it was always going to be hard. So I think it was a fantastic point for Marco Silva to get in his first game of the season. We then went on to play Southampton at home, and that saw our first win of the season. Richarlison getting on the score sheet again, is now 3 goals in 2 games. He was top of the highest goal scorers in the Premier League. He was doing wonders, absolutely fantastic. Danny Ings got a little consolation goal in that game, but we ended up going on to win 2-1, and again we showed something in that game I think that we hadn't showed before. We showed the willingness and the ability, really, the class to be able to hold out a 2-1 victory, the class to be able to be winning by a goal, you know, scoring 2 goals, then conceding and only having the deficit down to 1, and then holding on, you know, not looking shaky. We didn't look shaky at all. We looked comfortable, and we always looked like we were going to win the game, and you were sitting there at Goodison Park thinking, we're going to win this, it's going to be alright, we're going to win this. And if it had went to 2-1 at any time last season under Koeman or Allardyce, you'd have been sort of knowing that it wasn't going to end with an Everton win. It was either going to end with a draw, or, you know, on some occasions we'd end up getting beat in them type of games. So it was another fantastic performance by Everton. I think it was a brilliant result to hold out. You know, we could see the improvements creeping in, we could see the stages of improvement, just how much Marco Silva, just the effect how Marco Silva had on this squad. Because you've got to remember, at this time Richarlison was the only player that was new to this squad. Every other player played last season under Koeman, under Sam Allardyce as well. So Richarlison was the only new addition into this squad, and the whole team played fantastic around Richarlison. Obviously he got the goal, but defensively we were brilliant as well. Michael Keane, absolutely fantastic. You know, you'd be sitting watching Michael Keane last season and you think, okay, he's probably not going to do much this season, maybe we should try and get rid of him, and he's probably been a contender for our player of the season. This season he's been absolutely fantastic, and again it showed in that Southampton victory. So we then moved on to play Bournemouth away from home, another game that ended in a 2-2 draw. Another sort of away game that we probably should have got more out of. Another sending off as well in an away game, this time Richarlison for a head-to-head collision with one of their players, Adam Smith I believe it was. It wasn't a sending off. It was stupid by Richarlison, he shouldn't have lifted his head, but it wasn't a sending off. But it is what it is, and I think that moment was defining for the next couple of games, because obviously Richarlison was then banned for 3 games. He was unable to play at all, and all of a sudden this player that had scored 3 goals in 2 games, the, you know, £50 million signing that ruined the transfer market apparently, was coming in and was on absolute fire, top of the league goal scoring wise, and he was doing brilliantly, and all of a sudden he gets a rash sending off, and it means he's banned for 3 games. Everton didn't appeal the sending off. Obviously the game ended 2-2. Another sort of game where you're sitting back and you're thinking, you know what, we could have probably gone out and got 3 points in that game. That's quite disappointing. We really should have gone out and got the victory. But when you're down to 10 men away from home, even against the smaller teams, you know, your Bournemouth, your Wolverhampton Wanderers and things like that, it's good that you can come out with a point, and you know, you can make sure that you're not losing them away games, and you're drawing, and you're making sure that, you know, everything is as it is, and you know, you're going back home with, okay, you've got one of your key players sent off, but you're coming back home with at least a point in that game. Then for me came the 2 most disappointing games this season. Obviously the Huddersfield draw, 1-1 at home. One of the games where you're sitting and you're thinking, we really need to be beating these teams at home, especially if our luck away from home isn't going to be brilliant. We really need to be cracking on against these teams. And then obviously the heavy loss to West Ham United, which for me was the game where, you know, look, I've never questioned Marco Silva as the Everton manager. I've never sat there and gone, maybe he's not the right man for the job, because if you're going to sit there after 4 games and say that, it's rash, isn't it? And it's really, you know, jumping to conclusions before, you know, we've seen how Marco Silva's going to do. And I think even in them games there was slight improvements. I just think they were the two most disappointing games, obviously not just because we didn't get the victories, but because, you know, you're looking at Huddersfield at home and really you should be winning. You should be getting 3 points quite comfortably, and I think if we played Huddersfield at home next week we'd get 3 points quite comfortably. But obviously with the absence of Richarlison due to that red card, it wasn't quite as easy. It was starting to, there was a lot of conversation with Evertonians. A lot of Evertonians were saying, you know, is he the right man for the job? I think a lot of Evertonians might have been thinking it and then saying, actually, scrap that idea, you know, give him a go. He is. Especially around that West Ham defeat as well. I think we were absolutely awful against West Ham. We got schooled by, again, a team that had lost 4 games on the bounce when we played them, and we really should have been winning that game, but we didn't. And I think, for me, looking back on it now, you know, 12 games in, that was the hump. So we started off here, we've gone, you know, here, that was the little bit of a dip in form, and then we've come back. So, you know, they were 2 games where ideally you're looking at now and you're going, if we'd have got the points in them games, you know, if we'd have got the 3 points in both of them games, 6 points, would have been ahead of Arsenal now, would have been in that top 5, top 6, but we didn't. So you've got to look at it and go, okay, it was a little bump in the road, and we then improved after that, and we really, really did improve. So after that game, I believe we went on to play Arsenal away from home. I think this is how it went anyway. Please do correct me in the comment section down below, but I believe we then went on to play Arsenal away from home, at the Emirates Stadium. And in that game, for me, this was one of the most important games this season. And I'm not going to go through every game and review them, because I've done reviews on every game on the channel, so you can check them out if you'd like. But for me, this was one of the most important games this season, because this was, again, a game that we lost. Again, a game that, you know, when you look at it on paper, we've been beaten 2-0, but you could see the improvements in this team to when we played Arsenal last season under Ronald Koeman, and you could see just how improved we were. You know, we got beat 2 goals, you know, one was absolutely awful refereeing decision and one was a really good goal by Lacazette, but you could literally see how well we played, and we deserved to win that game. You know, we played very, very well. We had chances. Dominic Calvert-Lewin had the chance in the first 5 minutes, missed it. Theo Walcott had the chance that went straight to the keeper, and that was the game where you were looking at and you're going, you know what, you can take a lot out of that game. Okay, we might have been beaten at the Emirates, but we never really do well at the Emirates anyway, but you can take a lot out of that game, and Marco Silva's definitely got a hold of something here, and he's definitely getting something right, because the performance was really good. You know, it wasn't fantastic, it wasn't flawless. Obviously we ended up getting beaten, we didn't take our chances, but it was much improved to anything that we'd seen last season, and it was much improved to, you know, the previous games, West Ham and Huddersfield before it as well. So we then went on a little bit of a winning run, beating Fulham at home, beating Leicester away from home, a massive win at Leicester, obviously our first away win of the season, in a game that you're looking at and you're thinking, this is going to be a tough game. It's really going to be a tough game. You know, we're going there. They're a really good side. They've got some good players that can hurt us. And a piece of brilliance by Gylfi Sigurdsson ended up securing the 3 points for us in a massive away win. And again, that for me was the game where, you know, we just needed that little bit of, you know, something special from a class player like Gylfi Sigurdsson, and we got it, and then we went on from there, and we just accelerated from there. We obviously then played Crystal Palace at home, scoring 2 late goals, again in a game where, you know, we had the majority of the ball, we had the majority of the possession, and we played very well. We just couldn't break Palace down. Palace defended fantastically in that game, and the 3 substitutions that Marco Silva made changed the game, bringing on Ademola Lookman, Cenk Tosun and Dominic Calvert-Lewin, I believe it was, absolutely changed the game. Ademola Lookman getting the assist for Dominic Calvert-Lewin's late goal, and then Cenk Tosun obviously scoring to make it 2-0 and to win us the game. I was actually in Spain watching this game, if you'd have seen by my instant match reaction, and I was so happy that Marco Silva had put 3 substitutions on, and literally each of the 3 had an involvement in the goals. And again, it was another point where you're looking and going, Marco Silva's onto something here. He knows which players to bring on, and they've changed the game. He's onto something. It was another plus in the books of Marco Silva with Evertonians. It was a brilliant victory. We then went on to play Manchester United. I don't want to talk too much about this game, because I think we were robbed by an awful refereeing decision, and again it was one of them where we didn't take our chances, but again we performed well. We went to Old Trafford and we performed our hearts out, and we played fantastically well, you know, with the exception of an awful refereeing decision, and again another really good goal. If we'd have took our chances and if we'd have been a little bit more confident and a little bit more assertive, I think we could have won that game. I really think we could, and it was disappointing to you know, come out of that game with a loss. Obviously Marco Silva then fielded a nice 11 for the Brighton game. We have Richarlison up front. He's been back now from his suspension for a few games. He'd struggled with form coming out after that suspension. Obviously I don't think he'd scored since being suspended, correct me if I'm wrong on that one, but he had struggled definitely to get involved. He'd now been pushed to the striker position, another massive decision by Marco Silva, taking Cenk Tosun out of the team because he hadn't been performing, and putting Richarlison there, which was something that us Evertonians called for a long time, and definitely something that we wanted to see, and it proved in this game against Brighton. It was something that we needed to see. Bernard come in on the left. This was when, obviously, after, you know, we'd signed everyone was in the squad. But obviously we'd made all the signings before the first game of the season. I've realised just before I said I think we'd only signed Richarlison then. We hadn't. We'd made all the signings before the start of the season because the transfer window shut before the start of the season. But none of them were available to play. You know, Bernard was struggling with fitness. Yerry Mina was injured. Andre Gomez was injured. Lucas Dean had only just come into the squad, so he couldn't play. Kurt Zouma as well. You know, he come in pretty much straight away, but that was because of a Michael Keane injury. So obviously by this time against Brighton we had everybody fit. It was a fantastic victory, probably our best win this season, probably our best performance for a long time, and it was the game where you're sitting and you're thinking, we are a force this season, we are a real force, we are going to absolutely dominate teams if we play like this, and if we can beat all the smaller teams at home by playing like this, then we're in for some season. And it was an absolutely fantastic victory. And that brings us up to scratch. Our most recent Premier League game, obviously against Chelsea at Stamford Bridge, another fantastic performance, another really important point at a ground where we don't usually go and do well. You know, we've gone to Stamford Bridge and we've gotten a point against a team that not many other teams will get a point against this season. They've got some quality players. Eden Hazard, probably the best player in the Premier League this season. They're obviously, you know, a couple of points behind Manchester City at the top of the league, undefeated, and we didn't go and we didn't hold out, we didn't sit back for 90 minutes. We went and we played football, and we played really good football. And, you know, okay, with the exception of the last 5 or 10 minutes where we might have held on, we played Chelsea at their own game. We counter-attacked, we were fast, we were forceful, we were creating, you know, a fair few chances, maybe not enough, but we played fantastically well in this game. And again, that was credit to Marco Silva's tactics and his team selection. So that obviously brings us up to speed. We're now halfway through the third international break, the last international break of the season. We play Cardiff City next Saturday at home in the Premier League. Another game that we should be getting a victory. And overall for me, the first 12 games of the season, the first third of the Premier League season have been fantastic for me, for Marco Silva. You know, you can look back at the Huddersfield game, you can look back at the West Ham game and go, yeah, but this, but then it's been absolutely outdone by the substitutions he made in the Crystal Palace game, the performance against Brighton, the performance against Chelsea, obviously the massive victory against Leicester away from home, the decision to put Richarlison up front, which we've seen has reaped benefits now after the victory against Brighton, the decision to bring Bernard in, who is, you know, a very creative, very fast thinking player, and when he is fully fit he'll be absolutely fantastic. And the overall decision to sign 6 quality players that improve our squad. We haven't gone out there, Marco Silva and Marcel haven't gone out there and they haven't signed one player that's going to be a squad player, if you like. And okay, you can have the argument about Kurt Zouma, but at the end of the day, Kurt Zouma is only a squad player because Marcel Brands and Marco Silva have signed Yerry Mina, who was an absolutely fantastic centre-back. You know, we've seen his debut against Chelsea in the Premier League, like I've just mentioned, one of the hardest places to go in the Premier League this season, and he gets the man of the match trophy, winning 100% of his aerial duels and having a 91% pass completion rate. That is absolutely unbelievable. 1 for a centre-back, 2 for your debut in the Premier League, and 3 away to Chelsea at Stamford Bridge against the Chelsea team with the likes of Eden Hazard, Willian, Pedro, Morata, who's on goal scoring form as well. It's absolutely fantastic. You know, Kurt Zouma's played in this team this season against alongside Michael Keane, and he's been brilliant. You can't fault him. And I do feel a little bit sorry because Marco Silva's got a hard decision to make now. He has to take Kurt Zouma out because realistically, you know, Yerry Mina has to play, and you know, Michael Keane has been absolutely wonderful this season, so he has to come in and he has to play as well next to Yerry Mina. Kurt Zouma obviously is on loan, so but he is a player that's going to come into this squad again. He's going to play games because he's been fantastic this season. We've seen Andre Gomez, who has stepped it up a level for this squad. Obviously, we've seen his debut against Crystal Palace, and you could already tell in that game that the difference between him and Tom Davies, or him and Morgan Schneiderlin, is like, it's light years, it's well up in. And I'm not saying that as a thing to Tom Davies, or, you know, Tom Davies isn't, you know, good, or he's not good enough. He's just not at that class that Andre Gomez is at. And I think did I say Andre Silva before? I hope I didn't. He's not at that class that Andre Gomez is at, and Andre Gomez is an absolutely wonderful footballer, and he's a footballer that, if we can sign on a permanent, I will be absolutely over the moon, because there's absolutely no doubt in my mind he's improved this squad massively, and he is a class footballer. Obviously, we're then looking at Lucas Digne at left back. We badly needed a left back. We really did need a left back. Leighton Baines, I love Leighton Baines. He's an Everton legend. He really is an Everton legend, but he's getting towards the end of his career now, so we needed someone to come in and step in there, and Lucas Digne was the fantastic replacement. I actually read an interview with Lucas Digne today saying that, you know, he never had an idea of leaving Barcelona. He never wanted to leave Barcelona until Everton come in for him, and then he was like, I'm going. Until he spoke to Marco Silva, he was like, no, I'm fine at Barcelona. He then had that conversation and then said, I'm going, I'm off. I want to go and play for Everton. And that, again, is down to Marco Silva, down to how well he is at managing play, how good he is at managing players, how, you know, how much of a top man manager he is. Richarlison coming out in the papers constantly saying he's like a dad to me. I spend 20 minutes after every training session in his office talking about football, talking about my performances, how I can improve. Leighton Baines has come out, Michael Keane has come out and said how good the team spirit is. Seamus Coleman saying how well he manages the squad and just how good he is around the players. And I think you can see that that's showing on the pitch. That's showing him how well we are playing. The players are playing for each other now. They're playing to, you know, win games of football for Everton, but they're also playing with a smile on the face, and they're enjoying the football. And that was something that we majorly lacked last season, and that's something that we've now got back with Marco Silva. So obviously, in conclusion, for the first 12 games, the first third of the season, I think Marco Silva has done a fantastic job so far for Everton, and I hope it continues. I really do. Long may it continue. Marcel Brands as well has come in and has made 6 absolutely top signings with the help of Marco Silva. We've brought in 6 players that no doubt improved this squad. You know, we've brought a player in that's absolutely fantastic talent, who's been touted by, you know, his fellow Brazilian teammates, Neymar, saying that he's one of the best talents, you know, he's seen, and that he's going to be fantastic, and that Neymar's son's asking him to do the Richarlison dance. We've brought in another Brazilian lad who has proven in the Champions League, scored goals at the highest level of football, and is very skillful, very quick, and when he is at full fitness will be fantastic. We've brought in a French international left back who's played in Spain for Barcelona, played in France, he's played in Italy for Roma, he's played in all the top leagues in the world, and you could see just how good of a footballer he is. He slotted in perfectly when he first come in, and he's performing fantastic. And I think Lucas Digne is a left back that we've got now for the near future, and he is the replacement for Leighton Baines. He's absolutely brilliant. Obviously, Andre Gomez and Yerry Mina coming in as well on the same day, deadline day, from Barcelona. Yerry Mina we haven't seen much of, but for the first game to get man of the match at Stamford Bridge, like I mentioned before, we're only going to get good things out of him. He is a fantastic footballer. We've seen him in the World Cup. We know what he can do. He is brilliant. Andre Gomez, again, you know, game by game, as his fitness is rising, you're seeing how good of a player he is, and just the type of player that we've got here in him, and he is absolutely brilliant. And then not forgetting Kurt Zouma, who's also come in on loan and done the job. He's filled in that space when we needed to, when Michael Keane was out, you know, when we needed the centre-back to come in and fill that space. He's done it perfectly, and he's been a fantastic addition to this squad. So yeah, to wrap this up, Marco Silva and Marcel Brands have done a fantastic job, in my opinion, at Everton in the first few months that they have been in charge. Obviously, we're about 5 months in to, we're not longer than that, June. So we're about 6 or 7 months in to Marco Silva's reign as Everton manager, and he's done a fantastic job. And like I said before, you know, the only real negatives of this season have been that Huddersfield game, have been that West Ham game, but you can't look back at them now because you look at the Palace game since then, the substitutions like I mentioned, the Leicester game, even the United game and the Arsenal game where we performed fantastically. We were just very unlucky to not come away with something. So Marco Silva has been a revolution to this Everton team, to this Everton squad, to our Everton family. He has finally made us Evertonians love going to Goodison Park again, love watching exciting, fast, counter-attacking football, and he's obviously done that with the help of Marcel making the decisions signing wise and which players to come in. So that's going to be it for this video. Please do let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Let me know your thoughts on Marco Silva so far. How do you think he's done? Do you think he's done as well as I do? Do you think the performances have been a lot better than they have last season? I don't think that's a debate. I think, they have, let's be honest. Let me know what your thoughts on Marcel as well. How brilliant has he been? Because he has been absolutely fantastic, let's be honest, and he's brought in some top players, and let's hope that continues in January and in the next summer as well. So thank you guys very much for watching. Please do leave a like on this video if you have enjoyed. Subscribe if you are new to the channel. Don't forget to go out and fill in the consultation form, at www.peoplesproject.co.uk. There's a hyphen between Peoples and Project. Go and fill the consultation, and obviously about Bramley Moor Dock. Have your say on the new stadium, on the area, how it's going to affect Goodison Park, how it's going to affect the local area around town, about Everton Football Club. Go and have your say. It's massively vital and important that we all get involved in this, especially as Evertonians, and we all have a say as to how we want this stadium to be built, how we want it to be designed, where we want it to be. You don't have to go and say positive things if you've got a reason why it shouldn't be in Bramley Moor. Go and voice it to Everton, go and tell them so that they can have that on board, because if you don't tell them, they're never going to know. What Everton want to do is to make a stadium that all fans can enjoy going to and that all fans love going to, and to make a stadium that can create the type of atmospheres that you're getting at Goodison Park. So thank you very much for watching this video. If you have enjoyed, like I said, please do leave a like. I'll be back on Monday for another video. I hope you guys have enjoyed. Don't forget to go and watch the Blue Boys in the international duties if you feel like it. Jordan Pickford is playing as we speak for England, so we'll have to go on, see how he's doing. But thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you soon on the Mighty Blue Boys.